This is IGN. With the shadow of Concord's demise hanging over the latter part of the year, it'd be easy to fall into the trap of thinking 2024 was a rough time for PlayStation. But the past 12 months have been really solid for Team Sony, with a selection of games that really highlight the console's strength in multiple areas, be that gargantuan RPGs, slick cinematic action, or spine-chilling horror. But only one can be crowned the best PlayStation game of 2024. What did the IGN team judge to be the most worthy? We'll find out in moments, but first, let's find out who took home the IGN award for the best action-adventure game of 2024. While we're excited about games that break new boundaries, we'll always have time for the classics, and there are few genres that feel quite as foundational as the action-adventure. The runner-ups were Black Myth: Wukong, Stellar Blade, and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. And the award for the best action-adventure game of 2024 goes to Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. In 1989, designer Jordan Mechner created a revolutionary leap with Prince of Persia, a tricky adventure that combined 2D side-scrolling platforming with swashbuckling combat. It remains a cornerstone of video gaming's foundations to this day. Like many successful games with a long and storied legacy, The Lost Crown is a smart blend of the old and new. Excellent enemy design and parry-filled engagements ensures The Lost Crown feels like a sharp and satisfying combat challenge, especially when it comes to its centerpiece boss battles. Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is an excellent return to the series' 2D roots, and in the IGN team's opinion, the best action-adventure game of 2024. We've been announcing winners throughout the week, and it all culminates in a live stream today, Friday, December 20th, where we will unveil IGN's Game of the Year. Be sure to check back to IGN.com for a list of all the winners. The IGN Awards were voted for by our content team, who are responsible for making everything you read and watch on IGN's many channels. As always, we also want to hear what you loved in 2024, so be sure to vote in our polls and make your voice heard at IGN.com. And now, the award for the best PlayStation game of 2024. We've aimed to capture what made each console feel unique this year, and so naturally that means exclusives or games that feel distinctly at home on a specific platform. That was pretty easy for PlayStation thanks to the long list of PS5 exclusives that dropped this year. Now let's take a look at the results. Our first runner-up, Silent Hill 2. The original Silent Hill is a PlayStation 2 classic. In an era where remake can mean many things, Silent Hill 2 treads the most traditional path. But those old environments, story beats, and encounters are revisited from a new over-the-shoulder perspective, making exploration all the more immersive and combat a much more intuitive experience. The result is a fresh take on a beloved memory for veterans, and a new way for fans to experience one of the very best survival horror games of all time in a format that's more comfortable to play. While it didn't win this award, Silent Hill 2 did win the IGN Award for Best Horror Game, and deservedly so. Our next runner-up, Helldivers 2. Back in January, Helldivers 2 was barely a blip on the radar. Fast forward a month, and gamers across the world were spending every spare waking minute spreading managed democracy. Such was the alluring power of Arrowhead Game Studios' masterful co-op third-person shooter. Helldivers 2 is one of those games that's almost negligible on paper. A 4-person team drops into a sandbox map, works together to complete an objective, and then escapes via evac ship. But rather than feel like many of the copycat extraction shooters that have landed in recent years, Helldivers 2 feels like a fresh, original vision. The real key to Helldivers 2's genius is its smart approach to the metagame. It's the best multiplayer game PlayStation has delivered in years. Our final runner-up, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Square Enix had already proved that it knew what it was doing with Final Fantasy VII Remake, but there was no denying that the first chapter in this reimagining of the 1997 PlayStation classic was overly linear and stretched much too thin. It transformed just 5 or so hours of the original game into a 40-hour epic. The trilogy's middle chapter, this year's Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, tackles those issues head-on, and the result is a grand, expansive RPG that feels like a thoroughly modern Final Fantasy as much as it does an homage to an old-school great. This is undoubtedly the best Final Fantasy battle system since the days of the ATB gauge, and Square's most exciting RPG in a very, very long time. And the IGN award for the best PlayStation game of 2024 goes to Astrobot. It's only right that in a year of PlayStation's 30th anniversary, we crown something that celebrates the console's legacy as the best PlayStation game of the year. Astrobot is a Mario-matching 3D platformer that excels on all fronts. Tremendous stage design, intuitive movement, fun power-ups, and a smart approach to combining all of those elements in exciting new ways on each world visited. It's emblematic of the creativity that helped define the early years of PlayStation, and something we see all too rarely now on a console largely dedicated to mature cinematic stories. A huge amount of joy can be found in Astrobot's novel approach to playing with PlayStation history. Almost every stage riffs on a Sony classic, from a glittering casino that winks at Sly Cooper's most daring heists to a mushroom world where characters from The Last of Us hide among the fungi. There are a small number of direct homages that brilliantly translate the console's blockbusters into platformer experiences, including a miniaturized God of War that really does capture the essence of Santa Monica Studios' Norse Beast. But it's when Astrobot is flexing its own bespoke creative muscles that it proves the most exciting. But you don't have to be a PlayStation devotee to really get Astrobot. Regardless of if you care about its homages or not, this is a platformer made with heart that delivers joy in spades. It is unquestionably the best PlayStation game of 2024. Thanks for listening to this IGN Awards special. Remember, you can find the entire list of nominees at IGN.com. My name is Tony Jackson, and if you want more news on your favorite games and entertainment topics, make sure to visit us at IGN.com. You can also download our free app on your phone or console, and subscribe to our weekly podcasts through the podcast service of your choice.
Spoken Layer.